All right. Well, welcome everyone. This is the first episode on the Kian and Jacob debate show. Both these players play in the PFL. Kian plays for the Trojans and Jacob plays for the Dolphins. Uh, each
Well,
week,
Dolphins.
each week we'll be covering different topics, getting these guys' opinions on how I think the league's going, what teams are hot, different topics. If you guys want to drop down in the comments, uh, maybe some opinions or thoughts from them, that'd be great. Uh, but we for this week we got some good things to talk about, so we'll go ahead and get started. Who do you guys think will be the offensive player of the year?
Kian, do you want to start on that?
I'll go for it. So I think my offensive player pick is going to have to be Michael Dwenger. Originally, it was between Ethan Stearns, Eric Stearns, and Michael. And I'm going to choose Michael because of he has the height advantage on Ethan and Eric, but he also has he's more athletic. So Eric has a lot of this ability just because he played football. He used to play football for his high school, but he stopped freshman year. So he has this power in him, but he just can't. He doesn't know how to use it. He hasn't used it in so long. And Ethan has never played for a high school team. Not to say he's not good. He's one of my three candidates, but I think Michael is going to have the advantage over the two. What are your thoughts, Jacob?
Well, it's a great question. First off, those three players that you just mentioned, Michael, Eric, and Ethan, are all great and incredible. My top three were between Eric and top four: Eric, Ethan, Aiden White, who plays for the school football team,
Yep.
as well as James Odell, who is a freight train when he runs.
That's true.
So, and Michael as well. So I really had top five. I didn't have a top three quite. But the person who I decided to narrow it down to in the end is going to be Aiden White. He's taller than you guys think. I know some of you guys haven't met him yet, but he is incredible. And he's super strong, so he can tackle good. Aiden can run fast, and he can catch the ball. And if you have those three traits, you're going to be pretty good. So I think for Offensive Player of the Year, Aiden White's going to get it. My runner-up for that was Michael, followed by the Stern brothers.
Before we move on, I do want to mention James is a good option, even though, I don't know, was that your pick or was it Aiden that was your pick for offense?
Aiden was my pick.
Okay, so
Michael, runners up were James and Ethan and Eric Stearns.
So I chose Michael I think James is the best runner we have in the league, honestly. Not just because he's on my team, but
no question about it.
He's just so agile when no one can tackle him. But I think that this will be a passing dominated league for the first year, which is why I chose Michael. But if it comes down to that, then when it comes down to that, I think either James or Michael. These are great picks.
Very good point. And, the PFL could be a lot like the NFL where we're going to be seeing a lot of passing, not as much running. I love the running game because it's more aggressive, of course.
Yeah.
But, who knows what we'll see. I'm hoping to see some incredible runs, even though majority of the time everybody wants to catch a pass. I'm still hoping to see some running, though. But I believe great statement by you just now. How about how you think it's going to be more pass in the first year? I totally agree with you on that. But I think players can also adapt as we move on and can still be just as good. Even if they were super good runners, let's say, they can be great in other areas too and improve that.
Guys' thoughts. It seemed in the Senior Bowl that the QBs running seemed to be a big, the dominance of the plays was QBs running the ball. What do you guys think that'll have a big impact on the league?
I'll go first, Jacob, then I'll let you add on to it. But I think that depending on how the league is going to choose to pick the MVP, that I think a scrambling QB, a young scrambling just who can both throw and run will be really good, a good candidate for either offensive player or MVP. But I think that when looking at that factor, it's either going to come down to someone who's catching passes or someone who's throwing the pass. I think it's either going to be a QB or a wide receiver because of the passing dominated game. But yes, it's definitely a factor into looking into it. But I think that Michael is going to be so dominant because he also has the ability to play quarterback. And he may not play for. I mean, he's definitely not going to play for every snap at a quarterback, but he will for sure. I think he'll definitely have some snaps in as QB.
For sure. And to add on to that, of course, of course, during the Senior Bowl, QB was running, and we saw a lot of that. But I feel like as we get into the season, which is this Sunday, I'm excited about it, of course. I know you guys are too. I feel like, the QB, once we get into the real season, of course, this Sunday, the QB is going to be having so many jobs that, we were playing more 4v4 during the Senior Bowl. I feel like now they'll be playing 5v5. The quarterback is going to have more options to give us a running back, a full-time running back, not somebody who's only running back half the time like in the Senior Bowl. And I feel like there's been more passing options this time, which means the quarterback isn't going to have to scramble. And because he won't have to scramble, he's not going to be running the ball as much.
Yes, and I want to say real quick that from my point of view, when I was playing line in the Senior Bowl, I think that I'm going to use Eric because that's who I was going against most of the time, even though there were other people throwing. I think having a 5v5 situation is going to make it easier on me, but it could also go in his favor. So what I mean by that is when he's scrambling, I can, but it's very hard for me to tackle a scrambling QB. Mostly because there's a blocker on you. But with the 5v5, you could have your blocker be as a wide receiver option, and then like the other linemen come in and rush. So it could be harder for Eric or it could be easier, and you just got to consider that 4v4 to 5v5 factor when thinking about scrambling.
Absolutely. I would agree on that completely.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now let's start looking at the other side of the ball. Who do you guys have as your defensive player of the year candidates?
I want to have Jacob start this one off.
Ooh, well, thank you for letting me start it off. So I narrowed it down to 3 when it came to the defensive player of the year. Alex Kofor, actually 5, but so I'll just list off my 5. Alex Kofor, Aiden White, who's a good defensive end on the high school team, Eric Stearns, and Michael. I personally think out of those, we're going to be having Michael as a defensive player of the year because he can get in there, get interceptions, force fumbles, and my defensive player of the year is going to be Michael.
All right.
I feel like he's going to be able to break through tackles, force fumbles, get interceptions, get on over people without them even seeing, and intercept the ball. And he's going to do that a lot, I feel like. And it's going to be hard for people to guard him. And it's going to be hard for people to run away from him when they're trying to catch the ball and everything, trying to receive the ball. And I feel like he's going to get right up on them.
All right. Now, I agree with Michael on his height factor. The interceptions will be big because he is not, I don't think he's the tallest, but he is very tall for a player. However, all 4 of those players that you listed are none of them are what I chose. I chose Benjamin Percival for Defensive Player of the Year. And the reason being, even though he plays an offensive lineman most of the time, when we have to swap sides of the ball, you can't stop Ben. Not even Eric could stop Ben. Ben is going to get to the quarterback, I'm going to say 25% of the time. He may not get the sack, but he's going to be there.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that because during the Senior Bowl, I saw him go to the quarterback many times. He didn't get sacks every time, but he was able to get to the quarterback just like what you said. So I totally agree with you on that statement that 25% of the time he'll get to the quarterback. I agree with you completely.
And I'm saying that because you also have to consider the fact that Noah Dwanger was blocking him, who will not primarily be a blocker or on the line for that team. But
actually,
I think
Eric said that Noah is going to be their core offensive lineman.
I cannot wait to play the Hogs. Anyway, but you have that. Thank you, Noah. That I'm going to say it right now. I'm just going to, why don't we just get controversial? I think that was a bad mistake from the Hogs. Because when you have Ben running at him, or even me, he can block, he can keep you away. But if you get a 5-foot distance from him and the quarterback's here, you're here, and Noah's over here, you're going to get to the quarterback before Noah can get to you. And he's not bad. He can block very well, but getting that separation is a big deal because people like Ben, he has 2 options, and no one else in the league has his option besides Eric, but he's going to be a quarterback most of the time. he's going to have the option of running to the quarterback, which he has speed, and he's going to have and if Noah gets there before Ben can get him, he runs through him and gets to the quarterback anyway, because he's so dominant in that position of just line on either side.
I agree completely. And really, just getting back to Defensive Player of the Year here, the reason why I picked Michael is just his height. I mean, nobody has that. And, even if he's not on somebody, he can read plays faster than most people, and he can get over there, force an interception, force a fumble, and do all those things. And that's why I picked him for Defensive Player of the Year.
Yes, that's a good argument. I think I think Michael is much stronger on the offensive side of the ball, but it's not a bad take to say he could be Defensive Player of the Year.
For sure.
Yeah. All right.
I think both those players are good choices. Pretty physical players. You look at them; they're going to be down in the trenches, getting tackles, forcing fumbles. I think both of those are good picks. All right, now let's look on to MVP. Who do you guys think will be MVP of the PFL?
No, not Noah. Jacob, you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
I'm going to be honest on this one. I'm just going to be completely honest. I don't have a pick. I thought well about it, but until I see 2 or 3 games, I'm not even going to be able to give a true opinion on this. I can give you a list of people I think it might be, but I'm not going to say their names because I haven't seen, a few games yet out of it. We don't know about the injuries or anything like that. But 3 people that I think could definitely get it is Michael, Ethan, Eric, Aiden. I also think Alex Kofor could get it. I think James Odell and Ben Warwick. Ben Warwick's also got a lot of speed, and he is a very aggressive player. Everybody's aggressive, but he's super aggressive. And I also think another person who could potentially get it, at least on our team, is I already named him, Alex Kofor. He, from what I saw in games before the season started, he would be open and people would leave him open. They'd forget that Alex was there. And before you know it, he'd be in the end zone. And I think he can do that a lot still because, he stays a little bit quiet. People forget that he's there and he catches the ball and he's going to be making a lot of impressive plays because of that. But again, the list I just showed you, that list could change. Alex is not my final person. I'm not going with anybody today because I have to see a few games, of course. But it's going to be very interesting, but likely somebody on the list that I just read off. But it could all change. We don't know yet.
So I did same thing with Jacob. I did not make an option. I got it down to 2, and I could not pick it there. But I think I'm going to go with Ethan Stearns. The reason being, even though he's lacking a bit of height, he can make up for that with a jump. Literally, he can jump so high to where his height doesn't matter. His height isn't a factor anymore because I don't know if you saw the Senior Bowl, but he got Noah. Do you remember how many interceptions Ethan got?
2 or 3, I believe.
Ethan is 5'8", and he picked off Carter, and I think he picked off. I know he picked off Carter twice, but he picked off someone else another time, I believe. Carter's a great quarterback. Even though he's not our starting quarterback, Carter is a good quarterback. Ethan was just able to make the cover. He was able to get coverage, get the ball. And if it wasn't a pick, it was a swat half the time. And I think Ethan's going to be it because he doesn't give up. Sure, he's a bit injury prone. He's not like injured out for the season right now. He's got something wrong with his hand, thumb, if I'm not wrong. Is that right, Noah?
I think so. I know he had elbow problems as well.
Yeah. But, just look at that. And he's still making these plays. It doesn't matter. It doesn't hold him back. He doesn't care. He just goes after it, and it works. But I do want to counter one of Jacob's points. I think that Alex Kofor has speed, height. That's about it. Because he's disciplined, but I don't think that he'll be able to make a catch. I think his run game, if he's running into the end zone, you're able to tackle him. But he is fast enough to where the point, if there's no one in front of him, he's probably going to be gone. That's a good point. But I don't think that I don't think any of the players you just listed are going to outdo Ethan, simply because he just doesn't give up. This is his passion. He was never able to play football due to his height because I mean, he's good at wide receiver, he's good at quarterback, but you need tall players for both those positions, especially on high school teams. And he's showing he's getting his chance, and he's letting it's working. Because he's had that talent his whole life, he's built it up, and he wants to play, and he's just going out there and doing what he's always wanted to do. And that's when you're in your best, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And Ethan, I have him for one of my next ones when we get into a different question. But Ethan, I mean, he is there. He can make the plays. He can come out of nowhere and catch a 50-yard pass. He can do those things even when he has a defender on him. And just like you said there, he's unique in so many ways when it comes to the football field. No matter we're talking about a passing game or a running game, he's there.
And yeah, thank you. But I didn't even mention the fact that he can both throw, and he's a good defensive player as well. I mentioned the picks, but as a cornerback in general, he's great. He's covering the wide receiver. He's either swatting it, or like he could be behind like Alex Hofer, for example, who's way taller than him. He'll jump up and get that. It doesn't matter. He'll either pick it off, he'll swat it down. Sometimes he's not going to make the play every time, but still, when you have that much ability, you want to show it off, and he's doing that. And I was saying earlier, he can throw as well. He's not going to be a quarterback for the majority of the game because you have two people that are objectively better than him, Michael and Eric. But Ethan can also throw.
Absolutely.
I think those are good points there. All right. One that's not really on here, but I think you guys got a little bit of a personal connection to it. I think we're going to be giving out an award for like most valuable pick, meaning anyone that was taken in the last round of the draft. Who do you think is going to be the most valuable pick this season?
Jacob, I'm going to let you go first.
Last round only, correct?
Yes.
So you either could pick Noah Dwenger, Kian, Ryan Deep, or yourself.
Well, I will not pick myself just because I don't ever want to get overconfident. Maybe I could, but I don't want to get overconfident or anything. But I think Kian. I was shocked that Kian did not go second or third round. Kian, I'm just going to be honest, you are really good, and I think you should have gone a round or two higher up. I also think Ryan Deep, you never know where he can be at any time to make things possible. I'm always on him 2 seconds later, or even a half a second later, I take my eye off of him, and he's caught the ball or something. So I think between you, Kian, and Ryan, it's going to be great to see who gets that award.
So I'm going to have the exact same answer as you, but for different reasons. Let me explain why. So back when the PFL was the CFL, or a separate league, I believe, but Ryan was on a team called the Ducks with Ethan and Eric, and he was their primary running back. So Ryan, he's not the fastest, he really isn't, but he's going to hold on to that ball no matter what, and it's very hard to tackle him because of his height. He can basically fit through anything. You could have two people standing next to each other about half arm's distance, like holding hands, like this much space. Ryan's going to get through that. And not only that, like people, I mean, he holds onto the ball no matter what. Noah tackled him when he was going for a run, and he held on to it. Noah outweighs Ryan by over 200 pounds. Do you know how hard it is to hold on to the ball when someone that's 200 more pounds than you can just tackle you? Not only that, but now he can catch. Going into the PFL season, I did not know Ryan Deep could even make a catch because he was running back the entire time. Now he's going out there, anyone can throw to him with different throwing styles. He's going to catch that ball. Not every time, obviously. You can't always catch every ball, but Ryan has the ability to make catches. If there is a significant height advantage on him, I don't think he will be able to, simply because of the height advantage. It's not always going to be fair. That's just life. But if you have that separation between Ryan, the ball, the quarterback, and the defender, he's going to make that catch. And you can't leave him open. He's such a threat. He's a deep threat. He's a close threat. He's everything in wide receiver wise, and he can also run. I just think that's. I was also going to go with myself originally. I have it written down here, but I think I'm going to have to change my answer to Ryan because because of that reason alone. Me, I'm better defensively than Ryan because I just have more weight pushing the quarterback and pushing the lineman. But when you have the ability of like all these stuff with Ryan, you have the dynamic that changed the entire game outcome. I just sack a quarterback, maybe get a first down for our team. But Ryan is just he's that person that's going out there and making these plays.
Couldn't agree more when it comes to Ryan. That's just, and especially you. I thought you should have gone a few rounds higher, third or second round. But when it comes to Ryan, we forget about him too much, unfortunately, and he is just there. I can tell you, of course, I've been on a few defenders now where I've really had to run fast for, but when I'm on him, even though he's shorter than everybody else, he is there every time. You take your eye off of him for half a second, he's like 30 feet away. Other times I might take my eye off somebody for a second and they're only 10 feet away. He's like halfway down the field already.
Yeah, he's very good route runner. Very underrated going into the season.
But I think really all of our fourth round picks from Noah to you, Kian.
Exactly, yeah.
Ryan, to even me at times, because people forget that Jacob Pure is playing football and then I'm there in the end zone and I get a catch. I really think that the fourth round is just as good as the third round, quite frankly. I really do.
Everyone's valuable in their own way.
Absolutely. And really, I don't care that I win the last round. I'm happy to play. I'm excited to be aggressive and to prove people wrong. But, I'm going to have to go with Ryan on this one, or you can. I'll look forward to seeing both of you guys play so I can have a final answer, hopefully by week 5, on who I think it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are great answers. Now we're going to look at the stats. Stat leading categories, like who you think is going to lead, and these categories I list off. We'll start off with passing. Who do you think is going to be the leading passer in yards in the PFL?
I'm going to start off real quick because I had Jacob go the first few times. I do want to mention real quick, I'm not going to talk too much on it, but I did forget about the Offensive Player of the Year question when I said Michael. There is a good chance that Brendan Seago, who we have not talked about yet, will get that simply because he's the Trojans wide receiver, and him and Ben have good chemistry, and he's not. I still think it's going to be Michael, but I think Brendan has a good chance because he can go off in games without a doubt, and Brendan is just going to be great when it comes to catching, but offensive is most likely going to be a quarterback, so probably Michael. And so you said passing yards. Who do you think will have the most? That's going to go to Eric Stearns, in my opinion. I think the Hogs, honestly, are first or second best team in the league. It could be swapped with Trojans depending on how the first few games go. But I chose Eric over Michael because I think Eric's going to be the quarterback most of the time compared to Michael. Going to the season, we'll have to see who. But I think Eric will, mostly because he has a great deep ball. He has a great one, and he can make both short and long passes. But in the majority of the time, he's going to be targeting either Michael or Ethan because they have that family chemistry and that connection. And I'm not saying like if there's someone else that's open, he's never going to throw to them. But Ethan and Michael are both players that can make long catches. So Michael has the same abilities, but he's going to play it a bit more safe, I think. I think he's going to play it safer, so he might make a few more short passes. So in terms of yards alone, I think Eric will have that stat on lock by game 4.
I'm either going to go with Ethan Stearns because, like we said, he's everywhere. He can make those passes. He can jump up to get them. So I think for passing, he's going to be super good at it. The other person who we have not mentioned yet today is Ben Thresher and Riley Sharp.
That's true.
And, Riley Sharp's super tall. He can jump up and get it. Riley's on the track and cross country team. He's a very fast runner, so he can run down the field quickly, get a pass, and he catches it. He's off in the end zone. And then also Ben Thresher. Ben Thresher can break through tackles. He's quiet. He sits there in the back, of course. And, those are people who we sometimes forget about. And when they get the ball, they're off. So I think, of course, like I said, Ethan Stearns. But also it's important to not forget about Michael, who will probably be quarterback majority of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why I can't pick him for passing. Or Riley Sharp and Ben Thresher. I also think the Trojans have good ones like Ben and Brendan, who you said. So I think there's a lot of good players. So that's between 6 or 7 right now, the people I just mentioned. But it will be interesting to see.
Yeah,
It could be Ben or Brendan, definitely. But it'll just be interesting to see after the first few weeks. And
A lot of my
prediction.
a lot of my picks are going to be similar coming up because I haven't seen everyone play. I haven't seen the entirety, or not the entirety, the majority of Mac Attack and the Dolphins play mostly. But there's going to be a few mix-ups in there.
So, what do you think about? We'll kind of combine this one. Well, you can just kind of give me your takes on both of them, receiving and rushing yards. Who do you think will lead in each of those categories?
So receiving yards, I'm gonna go with Ethan for receiving, mostly because he's gonna be able to make. Actually, I'm gonna go with Brendan Seago. I'm gonna go with Brendan Seago on receiving. Hot take right here, and so let me just do this real quick. So I think Brendan Seago is gonna make. He's gonna be gonna lead in receiving yards because Ethan is great at catching, as I've already established, but I think Ethan has more dominance in that defensive position. You wouldn't expect it from him, but I think he's going to be able to make picks more than catches. Now he's going to be contending for second or third place in this award. Ethan is, but I think Brendan's going to have it unlocked mostly because he's going to catch that ball majority of the time. By majority, I don't mean 50 or 51. I mean like in the 80s or 90% of every throw, if he's targeted, that is. But yeah, I think Brendan's going to have this one. He has great athletic ability when it comes to vertical jumping, and he also has the advantage over Ethan in terms of height, just by a bit. So, Jacob.
So what about rushing?
Oh, you say rushing. That's true. Sorry, Zach. Rushing, I want to put James Odell because James, we've already established this. I think he's the best running back in the league. He's definitely going to be our dedicated running back for Trojans. But it's not that he's big. It's not that he's big. It's not that he's like really like powerful, because he's not very large, but he is powerful. He just has that ability he's agile, so he can get past people. But he can also he has that thing that Ethan has where he doesn't care. And that's good in football because when you don't care, you have passion for the game, but you don't care. You just do what you need to do to get to the end zone. And I think James has that. He is very fast, very agile, and it's hard to tackle him, really. He knows exactly what to do. He doesn't run straight down the middle. He knows to go get past the first defender, run down the line. That's what he knows. He knows how to do it.
Absolutely. And for my pick, I either have James Odell, because just like the things that you mentioned, he knows exactly where he's going to go. He's got the speed. He's got everything. Also, Eric. Eric is hard to tackle, and when he starts going, he's down there. And another person is Ryan. You know, they do some blocking for Ryan. We talked about Ryan earlier. Ryan is going to be a big shocker, I believe, and he's going to be there to make impressive plays, from catching it farther than most people think to even running it far with just a few blocks. He can get down there, and he's in no man's land. He's out of here. So I think between James, Eric Stearns, who, you know, he's very hard to tackle, of course, and Ryan, it's going to be very competitive. And I think one of those three people are going to be getting it. That could change, of course. I'd like to see Isaac Jones in a few games. I know he plays for the school. We haven't mentioned him yet, but I think Isaac Jones is also going to be a player that we need that could potentially be getting a very good award, offensively or defensively. So I'd like to see others like him play, of course, and Ben Thresher and Riley Sharp and Nick McAdams play, and Jake Swickla. But for now, I'd have to go James or Ryan or Eric Stearns, because Eric is hard to tackle, and he knows where to run too.
And I think that applies for both receiving and rushing, if I'm not wrong. Correct, Jacob?
Correct.
All right. Do you want to put the next two into same category as well?
We'll keep these a little bit separate. They're a little bit different.
All right.
Yeah. First, we'll just talk about sacks. Who do you think is going to have the most sacks in the league?
Can I start on this one?
Yeah.
Ben Percival, without a doubt.
Yeah, I kind of went selfish. I said me. Let me explain this a bit. So, as I said earlier, I think Ben is more. I said he has the ability to both get to the quarterback when there's no one there and when there's someone there. He just runs through him. But when you look at speed terms, I think that I have that ability too. Not as well as Ben, but I have the speed advantage on him. And this is just going to sound so selfish, but I mean, it's just
Go
really
ahead.
it's really just like it's going to come down to who wants it more. I believe I know Ben is taking this very seriously, but I'm taking it seriously as well as I want this. It like you could literally replace in terms of a metaphor, put Eric as the quarterback that I'm trying to sack, and then that's literally winning the Super Bowl for me, getting a sack. So it depends on how you value a sack. For me personally, I know it's not much. It could maybe be a forced fumble, or it could lose the ball, or it could be a fourth down, go for, and then you sack them, turnover. But it just means so much to me to get a sack, and I know that Ben plays mostly on offensive line, so he's blocking the people trying to sack mostly. So I think my idea of a value of a sack is gonna be that advantage on Ben as well as speed. But Ben is a good choice.
For sure.
Sounds good. All right. Next we'll move on to interceptions. I mean, we've kind of alluded to this one so far. I think I know where you guys are going with this one, but we'll hear your thoughts.
I'm gonna go first real quick because I've already established it. It's Ethan Stearns. Just great corner. I think the best corner in the league when you come down to it. From what I've seen, not because I've not seen everyone play. What do you want to go for, Jacob?
I'm going to be honest on this one, of course, Ethan, but I'm going to say the same thing again. Of course, I'm looking at the names. I looked at the names last night. I wasn't going to go to every game, of course, but now I am because, I'm looking at the names, of course, the second, third time, seeing names like Riley, Nick McAdams, Jake Swickland, all of them. I've only seen them play in one game, and some of them, like Aiden Gavin, came out. Isaac couldn't play last game. Another person who couldn't play last game was Mason Ebert, and so many others on just many different things. But I think for right now, I'm going to have to go with Ethan Stearns. However, though, just like I've been saying on a lot of these questions, that could change at any time because I have not seen everybody play. You haven't seen everybody play either. But right now, I'm going to have to go with Ethan Stearns.
Next, I think we'll look at tackles. Who do you think is going to lead the league in tackles?
Jacob, you want to go first? You have a name in mind?
This is a really hard one. I think you can tackle very well, Kian. And as well as Eric and Ethan Stearns, they're there too. Brendan can tackle hard too. I know that because he's tackled me a few times, of course. But I haven't seen everybody play, of course, so I can't give a good answer on that either. Really, at this point, again, we're so I got to see 2 or 3 games on this one, but I think Ben Percival, Brendan, Ben Morwick, James Odell, Michael, Noah's also, he can tackle very good too. And even Ryan.
Earlier.
Ryan too. So I'm going to have to go with, though, for right now, Eric Stearns or you, Kian, or Ben Percival. One of the 3 of you, but that could change, of course.
What were you saying, Noah, real quick, before I give my answer?
He had mentioned Aiden earlier. Aiden's a big kid. He plays on the defensive line or the high school.
Yeah. Yep.
That could be a factor.
All right. So interesting thing right here. I had Ben. I'm going to change it. Mostly because if you get past Ben, he's not getting back to you. I'm going to go with Jake Swickla. Now, the reason for this being is I remember when I played him, he's a great blocker. I know this is completely different, but he's able to contain you. So if you can't, it's not a matter of what happens if you get past him. It's a matter of if you even get past him at all, because he's able to contain, and if he's containing long enough, he's just going to make that tackle. Most of the time, he's gonna wait for someone to come tackle you, and that's why I'm gonna have a split answer here. If you give Jake that amount of time to where no one's coming after to help him, he's going to make the tackle for you. But his main role here is to hold you and wait for someone else, and that someone else is Aiden White for me. And it's just because Aiden White is he's very strong kid, very strong. He has a love of football, and that's just amazing to see because when you have someone that loves football as much as Aiden, he's gonna take everything, all that passion, and just put it into every single strike, every single tackle he makes on somebody. So even though it's not a matter of like the most powerful tackle, Aiden's going to have that drive more than anybody else on that side of the ball to make a tackle on somebody, and as well as Jake Swickla, but we'll have to see on his given role.
Yeah, I think those are good answers. So the next category we'll move on to is pass block win rate, which essentially just boils down to who do you think is going to be the best offensive lineman. I think I kind of understand. I think I know where this answer is going as well, but still state your case.
I'll let you start, Kian.
Yeah, it's Ben Percival. It's Ben Percival because he's going to be on the offensive line, and if it wasn't, if Jake Swickla was on the offensive line, it very well could have been him. It could have been him because I mentioned earlier his ability to contain the defense, but Ben has both experience with the offensive line, and he's just, you can't get past him. He's very powerful when you're getting hit by him, but he's even more powerful when you're trying to hit him or trying to get past him because he knows what he's doing. I see a young Quentin Nelson and Benjamin Percival. Okay, that's what I see, and that's a very hot take. But dude, someone like Ben, he's going somewhere. He's going somewhere. I can tell you right now. It could be college. It could be somewhere. Dude, that I just never seen anybody play offensive line like that, man.
For sure. And for mine, Ben Percival, Jake Swickla too, if he's on the offensive line. But just I'm gonna have to agree with you on your statement completely. You see a young Quentin Nelson and Ben, that's 100% true.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be interesting to see, but I think he's somebody to definitely who's going to likely get that award. Again, we haven't had week 1 yet, or week 2 or week 3 where I can make a better prediction, but for now, Ben.
All right.
I think that's good for the individual stats. Now I want to I want to get your guys' rankings. I want you to tell me your preseason rankings, who you think the best team in the league is, and then so on down. Just rank the teams for me.
I'll go first. This is a very quick question. Hogs, Trojans, and Mac Attack and Dolphins are interchangeable. Jacob, real quick, if you could remind me, Alex Kofor, is he a Dolphin?
Yes, we have Alex Kofor, Aiden White, Isaac Jones, Ben Hula for the first few games, then Mason Ebert, supposing that he comes back.
We'll get into that later, but thank you.
And me.
Yeah, and Jacob. But I think Dolphins are going to be last. Not because Jacob, hear me out. I think it's a management issue with somebody like Alex Kofor as your manager or your captain. He's a great player, but he's either going to take too much responsibility or he's going to not take enough responsibility, as in taking it seriously. And this is not a diss on Alex Kofor. This is just what I've seen from him as a person, which has definitely changed throughout the years. But Trojans and Hogs are going to be very close. I think Hogs are going to be first because of just their roster is overpowered, in my opinion. But is the draft? It was as fair as possible. But I think Mac Attack will be third, Dolphins last, and not because of Jacob, but just because of what we're going to have. If Alex is able to make up for that in gameplay, his management, or if he's able to just completely change his management or make it better, they may get third or even second place. I just don't think anybody's going to be able to take down the Hogs, honestly. What do you think, Jacob?
Great question there. So for now, look, Hogs number 1. Number 2, I'm going to be honest, from here on out, from 2 to 4, I don't know. It all depends on injuries, Ben Hewlett, I haven't seen him play yet, but I got him to join our team until we have Mason Ebert back. Mason's good. He'll be back in a few weeks. I know we're going to get to that question in a few minutes. But really, Trojans, you guys have great players, great runners, great receivers. You guys are strong on defense too, of course. Knack Attack, I think Knack Attack is going to surprise a lot of people. Nick McAdams, Bradley Sharp, you know, Ben Thresher, 3 super tall people. Ryan Deep, a very fast runner, and Ben Percival, a very good defender, and somebody who's good on the offensive line. I think they're a shocker too. And then the Dolphins, my team. And I honestly think we have 3 very tall people. And then you have me and Mason and Ben. Ben, who's going to be temporarily filling in, of course, as the shorter people on the team, unfortunately. But I still think that we can be used in incredible ways. For me, at least, Jacob, I'm able to trick teams into thinking that my team's going to be doing this play when we don't do that play. I'm able to trick them into that every time, and it works out. If I'm catching the ball or not, or if I'm not even getting the ball, I know how to work around that things. I'm not saying that we're going to go number 1 or anything here, but, I think between Dolphins, Knack Attack, and Trojans, you guys have receivers, you guys have runners, you guys have defenders, everything. I don't even want to say who I'm going to have for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. I'm going to have a very good prediction after week 1, but until then, I can't say.
So I have 2 things to say real quick. First of all, I do notice how you're saying height a lot. I'll let you explain that, but height it is a factor completely. But I think it's more of a defensive factor than offensive. Catching the ball, you have people in the NFL like Calvin Johnson or Megatron who were incredibly tall, and that's why they were so dominant. But you also have that running option in this game. And as I even said, it was going to be a passing dominated league. But height isn't everything. But you have a great argument with that in general. Second thing I want to mention, even though Jacob, you were drafted as the last pick, aka Mr. Irrelevant, I think that even though football is a very physically demanding sport, you have that brain, you have the ability to just give input on these plays. And you were saying the trick plays, you're really good at that. You are amazing at that. And that's why I think you should have been drafted higher, not because physical ability.
That's where Mr. Relevant comes in handy. It's the strategy. And I use the strategy in everything. I use the strategy in politics and business when it comes to getting people on my show who are big shots. And it's a strategy that I really have to bring to the team.
Exactly.
Even though I might not be able to run the fastest, even though I might have the ball drop out of my hands a few times, it's the strategy, like you said. So I appreciate that, Kian. I really do.
Anytime. So I believe this is the last question, and this is mainly the part where Jacob brought this up earlier, and I wanted him to. I know I'm kind of taking your spot here, but I wanted this to be a one-on-one Jacob and me conversation, real quick. So, Jacob, what do you think? With Mason's absence, how much do you think it's going to affect them? If it is going to affect their team, how much is it going to affect them? Do you think Ben is a suitable replacement for them? Just give me your thoughts on Mason's absence for the first 2 weeks due to his injury.
I absolutely think that it's going to hurt us in some ways because Mason's been a very good defender and he can play line really well. Yeah, and when I thought of replacements, I could have given up some other names, but I ultimately picked Ben and everything because Ben used to play football, so he's no dummy to playing. It isn't like me, where my first real tackling was a few months ago, or anything like that. So he's used to it. He can handle the tackles too. He can handle pressure on him too, if we have to throw a Hail Mary down or anything like that. So I think it is going to hurt us on the lines because, we sort of had our Ben Percival, Mason Ebert on our team, who could do a lot of the same things that Ben Percival could do. And played more as, of course, a linebacker. But I personally think it's not going to affect us too much. It will affect us in some ways because, of course, you look at Ben Hula compared to Mason. There's differences, 100%. One's more of a linebacker, one's more of a receiver, and things like that. But Ben can play safety well. He can play all those positions well like that. And Ben can get tackles on people too when it comes to defense. So I don't think it's going to affect our team too much. It's going to hurt in some ways. But I always like to look at the positives too. And I think we have a lot of those positives.
And I do want to add real quick before we're done. Jacob, with your knowledge, I think I have never seen Ben play football before, and I'm going to be honest. But I trust you in your decision to choose Ben over other people to replace Mason. I've only seen Mason play a few times. And when I've seen Mason play, he is a great defender. He is able to catch a ball, even with an injury. He is able to, he's an all-around player. Now, you mentioned safety with Ben, and that's a position where I don't think we've even touched at this in this episode. But it's a great thing you brought it up, because Ben has all these talents along with Mason that I didn't know existed. And he's just, like, they're both really good all-around players. And I think Ben may even, now this is completely hypothetical, he may have an advantage over Mason. I don't know. That is a complete guess. It's not a shot at anybody, but I think that Ben Hewlett may have a slight advantage over Mason Ebert, depending on how seriously Mason takes it. Mason can be great when he really cares about something. The PFL is something you really need to care about. If you're going to take it seriously, you need to care. And I know Ben is getting this opportunity to play, even if it's not for the entire season. He'll definitely stay in the league in some way, one way or another. But I really trust you, Jacob. I really do think that this is a good choice.
I think that that's a good summary overall. I think that week one's definitely going to be interesting. There's a lot of nerves, excitement. I know a lot of people are getting excited, especially with the weekend coming around here. It's time to start thinking about it.
Be done in a minute. No, you got me a haircut.
All right. Well,
you're good.
I know everybody's excited. So and I know you got places to be, Jacob. So I think we'll end it there.
You can leave that part, and I think everybody will like that part.
Yeah.
Feel free to leave it in there.
All right. Well,
I know some people enjoyed coming in the end.
Thank you for joining the Kian and Jacob show. We'll be back next week.
Thank you, Kian. Thank you, Noah.
Thank you, Jacob. Thank you, Noah.
See you guys Sunday.
See ya.